like a nigga is cable. I be on no label, but my clothes be all label.
Father hit me up, ask what's up with the imagery. I can cook a beat, but I'm real bad at chemistry. Bitches let me beat, tryna figure out my energy. Never hit them back, all I'm calling is my legacy. Rapper hit the pipe like oil down the sink. My mama, that's my heart, she gets spoiled when we link. Think my own destruction on the brink. Niggas want me dead and I feel ya, but I'm not stopping till I get at least 1 million. Wasn't good at school, but I always knew I'm brilliant. I need more money, no Othello. Drugs in my body, so my eyes both yellow. Young thug in this bitch, I am not your fellow.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of a No Label Convo. Here with my boy Nell.
Yo.
Shouts out to everybody that's been subscribing on YouTube, as always, liking on Instagram, sharing. The engagement on Twitter is going up. You know what I mean? People liking more of the Facebook page, too, so growing steadily.
Yeah, man, we definitely appreciate every single one of y'all, man. Just tell a friend to tell a friend. Like, anytime y'all see what's going on in Buffalo, you know what I'm saying? Know what I mean? Let us know. Tag us and do all that good stuff. Shout out to our sponsors. Shout out to Guapcoin, cryptocurrency for the culture. You know what I'm saying? The founder was just on CNN Business. You know what I'm saying? We moving and grooving.
Fact.
You know what I'm saying? So, this artist we sitting in front of now, I've been watching like him and his group. They bubbling for a long time, and when I saw them perform at what was the Boufflé Festival 2021, I was running around. I'm telling my friends, I'm like, yo, yeah, Mile High. You know what I'm saying? They over here, and I'm like, well, everybody over here. I was like, oh. I see, I'm watching the energy, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And then I happened to bump into him at Cass Spears' house, and I was like, yo, we need you here. Like, what's good, my boy Neft? How you living?
What's good? I'm good, man. I'm just living, taking things day by day.
Happy to have you, man.
Growing.
Facts.
How y'all doing?
I'm
Good, man.
doing pretty good. It's
Getting cold outside. Not ready for that at all.
Yeah.
I'm stubborn. I still haven't turned the heat on in my house. I'm like, nah, we gonna thug this shit out.
We're gonna thug it out.
Hell yeah, man. So let's get where to start. We was chopping it up a little bit earlier here.
Yeah.
So you went to Olmsted, and then you also went to what high school you go to?
City Honors.
Yeah,
Never Olmsted.
We're gonna bleep that out.
Oh, you didn't go to Olmsted?
Yeah. No, never went to Olmsted.
Okay.
Yeah, just City Honors. Yeah.
Word.
We're gonna bleep out the city honors part too.
Yeah, no, I know there's some rivalry going on.
If you a Tectonian, you know.
Some tech boys from City Honors. Look, I I fuck them all in high school because I went there, but I'm not like I went to City Honors type of nigga.
Word.
Nah.
Because like from meeting you, like I never would have like thought you went to City Honors for real. So where we initially met at the Purple Palace.
Yep.
Yes,
Back in
and
the day.
and we was just chopping it up on there. I'm like, yeah, this is a cool dude. I didn't even know he did music.
That's funny.
I'm like, yo, homie, man, cool. So,
that's how I like to keep it, honestly, because I'm a rapper, but I don't like to walk around and be a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Because that's when it kind of gets diluted a little bit.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we've talked about that here. It's like that kind of holds rappers back. Cause it's
trying to like constantly carry on that persona of being a rapper, or like being an artist, versus just being yourself, and you just happen to be a person that makes good music.
For sure,
it's a difference.
Yeah.
I had to deal with that a lot because like with Freak the Mighty, we got local attention rather quickly around here when we first broke out, when we first started performing. And I noticed that dynamic form quick. Like, mad people would come up to me like, yo, Freak the Mighty. And I'm like, I don't even know what to say to you, nigga. Like, I'm just here being myself.
Word. Hell yeah. So, okay, boom. So, before you went to City Honors, you said you didn't go to Olmsted.
No, I did not go to Olmsted. I went to School 3 over on Niagara. I grew up in the Lower West Side. So, School 3, it's like, it was my elementary school. Just I don't know what it's like today, but back then it was just Puerto Rican kids, some black kids, hardly any white kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that can definitely be like a little culture shock coming from that to going straight to City
Honors. To be honest, I didn't even really know any white kids until I went to City Honors. So that was a fucking shock. Like I'll never forget my first day. I started going there in the 5th grade, and before you get sent to your homeroom, they had like an orientation type of thing in the auditorium. So I walk in. And don't get me wrong, there was some black kids like in the room, but like there were hardly any Puerto Ricans though, and like when you're Puerto Rican, you only know Puerto Ricans when you're growing up. You know what I'm saying? So I walk in the auditorium, and it was just like all white kids. I was like, yo, I knew shit was weird when I heard kids saying like crazy yo mama jokes to each other. And nobody was fighting. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wait a minute, something is weird. I don't know how do I relate? You know what I'm saying?
Like yo, Chad just violated your mom, so you gonna take that? Like,
yeah. So you started going to City Honors in 5th grade?
In 5th grade.
Oh, so you took the test early.
Yeah.
Was that like your mom's decision to try and get you to City Honors?
Totally my mom's decision. Totally my mom's.
I don't know too many kids who are like,
he's like, nah, I need to go to City Honors.
It was not it. Oh yeah. So did you play any sports there? Or were you into that?
Yeah, I did track, I swam, I did football my senior year, and then I also did boxing and MMA outside of City Honors though. So.
Oh, that's valid. What type of MMA or was it type of taekwondo or?
It was just standard MMA. I mean, it was mainly boxing and jiu-jitsu, but I learned other forms.
Okay.
Did it for a couple years.
Dope.
Yeah.
Word. So
did that? Because I know a lot of people say that takes like a lot of discipline when it comes to like learning the different martial arts.
Yeah.
Did that discipline you have to learn, or that mentality you have to develop in order to like get good at those things? Did that like
definitely
help you
actually
other things?
I wish I stuck with it longer. I mean, it was really a money thing. Like I didn't have enough money to keep going, unfortunately, when I was younger. I did it for about 2 years, but definitely taught me some discipline. I started MMA, I think I want to say like I did it from like probably like 7th grade to my freshman year of high school. So around that time, like I feel like this ain't really unique to me. I feel like everybody kind of goes through like a rough spot when they're like 12 to 15, not finding yourself age, you know what I'm saying, getting in trouble, doing stupid shit. Definitely taught me some discipline and to be a bit more responsible and to take accountability for my actions at the time, for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely something I learned just like over time. Like I've had certain friends who I didn't take martial arts but I had friends who did, and I seen how they're able to like shift their focus. Yeah. In certain like, and I'm like, yo, where does that come from? And I asked all of them, and the common thing was martial arts.
Yeah, I actually kind of want to take it again soon because I feel like now I'll be a fucking beast.
I want to take it too.
I'm so like I know how to focus in now. I'm like, yeah, I'll be a fucking monster.
Hell yeah. Before I'm gonna come back to the martial arts thing, but I want to finish up. So, were you doing music at City Honors or no?
No, I didn't. I started realizing that I liked writing when I was like 15. I didn't actually start rapping and trying to record till I was like 17, 18. So not really. Yeah.
Word. So, boom, you leaving, you graduate from City Honors. Was you like, I'm about to just figure this shit out, or I'm about to go to college? Yeah,
I mean, so actually, if I'm being real, like my life kind of took a sharp turn when I was like 17, 18, because meditation was introduced to me at that age. And that kind of like drastically changed my outlook on life. So I went into like, I went into college. I went to UB for like a year and a half. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. I just like, I thought I had to go to college. So I started getting thoughts of like, I want to make music probably the end of my senior year, but I was also in this weird mindset because I was like realizing there was a whole nother fucking realm of life that I wasn't aware of before. So I was kind of, I was really confused going into college. So yeah, that's mainly where I was, just going into college, kind of blind, just having this like notion in my head that I want to go into music, but yet I was going into college, so like there was like this break in my head, and like I don't even know what the fuck to do. So that's why I only lasted at college for like a year and a half, because I don't regret the experience. I learned a lot. I met some cool people.
That's how I was.
But quickly into it, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. Word. I don't know what the fuck I would even do here.
Same. That's how it was when I started. Started going to Cleveland State.
Oh, damn.
I started learning. I want to say like what shifted me was like I started learning about like blackness and just like I started listening to like Tupac interviews, Malcolm X stuff, and I started like really studying. I'm like, hold on. And then I got introduced to meditation like started my sophomore year. Yeah. And then that shit changed my whole trajectory. I'm like, okay, yeah, fuck this. I don't need to be here. I was like, I don't need to be here. I need to figure out what I need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So you said meditation changed like your whole outlook on life at that age. What was your outlook on like previously, like prior to it?
I mean, before, like, I'm not trying to get into too many personal things, I suppose, but I didn't have the best mindset before I got introduced to it. I could say I was a troubled kid from 13 to 16. Then after that, I was just regular, just trying to like figure out how to be normal, I suppose, and like not be an asshole to people, and to and to have like self-control. But I was still really confused. It's complicated because now I'm not trying to blame anybody else but myself, but City Honors was very confusing for me being there, because I had to adjust to like the norms on how to behave at City Honors, which was completely radically different than what the norms were where I grew up or where I even lived. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of got, for like a good 4 or 5 years, I'm gonna keep it real, I was lost, to be honest with y'all. I didn't know who the fuck I was. I didn't know what I was trying to be, because like at City Honors, the culture there, kind of like there's a social hierarchy in every fucking field you're in, especially high school.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, City Honors is probably was ranked top in high school in the nation for many years.
It's
very
like the
prestigious.
most prestigious school.
One of the top public schools.
It's a public school, but you have to take an exam to get into it.
Yeah,
it's snobby white kids
that's how it is now.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like that.
Yeah, it wasn't always like that. And don't get me wrong, like I ain't trying to shit on City Honors. Like there was cool. I met cool.
I mean,
people
we for
there,
it if you want to.
You know,
if you want to shitty on City Honors, we for it.
I met cool people there, but the culture was still inherently a white based culture that I wasn't really aware of. So even when you're a kid, when you're that young and your mind is that impressionable, you want to climb the social hierarchy. You want to be lit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You want to be accepted. And to do that at City Honors was to like, and of course, if I was there now, my approach would be totally different, because now I don't give a fuck. But when you're a kid, you do, you know. So I was changing myself in ways that wasn't too healthy or pleasant for me. You know.
Did you like kind of like, you said like kids are more, you didn't say malleable, but you said more like influential, you said? Or
yeah, I said
impressionable.
Impressionable, yep.
Yeah, you said more impressionable.
That's a word. I think that's a word.
Yeah. What did you like adopt more like to like more whiteness, like more white culture more?
Absolutely. I did.
Okay.
I did. Which was, like I'm not even ashamed to say that anymore. For a while, like when I got out of City Honors, I ran in the opposite direction, because I was like, nah, like I really put myself through that, so now I gotta like, nah, fuck all that. But now I'm not ashamed of it, because like it's what happened. I can't change it, you know. But I definitely ran in that direction for sure, because I was so confused. Like I said, in 5th grade, like hearing kids say foul shit to each other and laughing about it, not fighting. Like where I came from, like you say the wrong thing, like it's a cafeteria fight. You know what I'm saying? It's a cafeteria fight. City Honors, like I'll never forget. There was one kid. He said I don't know what he said, but he did something that would have warranted a fight at my old school. So like that's naturally what I went to, and everybody looked at me like I was a fucking squeaker, and it hit me, and I was like, oh, there's totally different rules I gotta learn how to follow here. But the unfortunate part is, when you're from a different culture and you're trying to force yourself to learn rules to fit in, it doesn't come natural to you, so you're forcing it. So you're really not being yourself. It's already hard enough to be yourself in general, but then when you're trying to force yourself to adopt to a set of rules or guidelines that you know nothing about, you're really getting far away from yourself. Yeah. And that's kind of what I put myself through being at City Honors.
Yeah. We talk about so much about, be authentic, be yourself, like it's such an easy task. It's not always the easiest task.
Yeah, it's easy to say now when we look back on things. Yeah. Like we older and more mature.
It's not the easiest task. That's why so many kids go through them type of situations.
Yeah.
And the reason I had asked that question was because I went to Cleveland State, and I went to schools that was like diverse. I went to performing arts. I went to Tech. I went to Olmsted. So like there was a mix, but I hung with black people, like black kids. That's who I identified with, and like I was never taught to go towards anything else. But when I went to Cleveland State, I didn't know about white culture, so I started hanging with the white boys, trying to see like what's this thing about, like. All the niggas is playing 2K, chasing every bitch. I did that for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that again here. So like, and I learned, but I had to learn from the white one. I'm like, it taught me how different like I was than them, and it made me proud to be who I was by seeing I'm definitely not that. And it is like that's how it helped me develop my self identity. And it's like when I talk to you, the first time we met, and I'm like, I can tell this person is very secure in his identity. So it's like you have to be able to. It's like you really don't know until like you test it. In a way.
Yeah, that's what it is. You get tested.
Hell yeah.
Several things in life though. It's not just like one instance that tests you. Feel me?
It's damn near everything. It's literally everything.
Oh yeah.
Like, because it comes to those points where what really tests you is when it comes to those points where, like we always say, when like your morals and beliefs like come into play, and it's like either I'm gonna stand on them or I'm gonna waver and take the easy route. And then once you like start standing on those, and you gotta develop and know what those are, like personally to you. And then once you start standing on those, and like no matter the situations, then that's when you become comfortable just being yourself. Because it's like, I could have went the easy route, but I took the high route, standing on what I believe, and it wasn't so bad, and I came out clean at the end of it.
Yeah.
So I think once you go through several phases like that is when you like start to form and be comfortable with your identity.
For sure. And you know, the crazy thing is I'm starting realizing today, it's like you definitely have to go through phases of learning how to become yourself, but eventually like people think you're just gonna like stumble upon it one day and like, oh, I'm being myself, but it's actually a never ending journey. You can go deeper and deeper and deeper into being yourself until it gets a little too deep to talk talk about publicly, which is very interesting to me.
Fact. So when did psychedelics play like a big factor in your self discovery?
Absolutely. I could never try to act like they didn't. For sure. My approach to psychedelics, I think, is a bit different than the average person's approach to it. Because I use psychedelics to enhance what I'm already doing. I feel like some people kind of do the opposite. They just simply count on psychedelics, or I use psychedelics to enhance my meditation practice when I'm not doing psychedelics. Not the other way around, but they definitely help me. I mean, the first time I ever did shrooms, was when I was like 16, and I was a regular kid. Like I wasn't necessarily depressed, but I'll never forget. Like I did a very low dose of shrooms. I did probably like a gram with my friend. And we were just walking around the neighborhood. I'm like, God damn, like these houses look like a Pixar movie. Like I can't stop smiling. I was like, shit, I didn't even know I could be this happy.
Word.
You know? And that kind of woke me up because I was like, yeah, that's actually disturbing. I didn't know I could be this happy. And it wasn't nothing mind blowing. It wasn't heavenly, but I had a fucking amazing happy night. I even thought when you do psychedelics, kind of when you're coming down, your mind expands so you could think very deeply about certain things. I even felt love for people I, at the time, thought I hated. You know what I'm saying? When you're a kid, you hate people and shit. So I was like, well, I don't hate nobody. Like, if I saw that nigga right now, I'd damn near give him a hug, you know? And that introduced me to just a whole new way of thinking, which led me to other things.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one thing, like, I know I try to do this anytime, like, any chance I get is, like, I want to break the misconception about psychedelics and, like, oh, it's not a black thing, or that's some white people shit, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I'm like, fam, like, if you look in cultures, like, they did mushrooms. Like, that was indigenous cultures did that shit regularly.
For sure.
Like, I could show you hieroglyphics with mushrooms on them, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
facts.
telling you. Like,
I think it's most important that black people, I mean, just non-white people do psychedelics because we're in a culture, we're in a country that's I don't know how else to say it, dominated by white supremacy. I'm not necessarily, I don't say that to sound dramatic and scary, but psychedelics allows you to take a different outlook on life because we walk through life thinking that things have to be a certain way or that we have to fit or squeeze ourselves to fit into the hierarchy systems that were developed before us, you know? So psychedelics introduces you to the fact that, wait, no, it's not like that. Like, you don't have to give a fuck about what anybody besides yourself says, you know? And that's so important for black people. So important.
Word, because I definitely, like, it showed me, like, I'll say mushrooms showed me, it was like, block out everything.
Yeah.
Block out everything, and you're going to exist in yourself, and nothing else can change who you are. Like it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain something like you gotta experience. Like, and you talked about like the martial arts and stuff like that. Like when I started learning about mushrooms, I started like studying them and stuff. The dude Baba Kalindi, we talked about in the interview with Reese. They talk about how all martial arts came out of like mushrooms. Like literally, like they do their ceremonies and then like they dance, and that's how they hide the like capoeira, or they just dance. It look like they dancing, but it's really a fighting style. Like they do fighting styles and all that shit. Like it's dope. Like they showed it in like Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like you eat the herb, whatever you become. Like, bro,
Yeah, facts.
it's all there.
So
Like,
when do you think it's gonna come to a point where it's like, you know, smoking weed is like the norm amongst our community? It's something that we go to for self-medication or whatever it is.
I feel like it's
When do you think shrooms will like become a thing that's to
Mainstream?
where it's accepted? Not even necessarily mainstream, just accepted amongst our community, because it's kind of mainstream if you want to
It's
keep it above.
getting
Yeah, it's getting there. I feel like we're going
but just
through
like
we're
amongst
going through
our community,
a renaissance.
like our
Yeah.
people. When do you think it'll be like accepted and not looked at as, like you said, some white people shit?
I give it 2 to 3 years.
2-3 years.
Less, bro.
What do you think it's gonna take though? Not just the time span. Like, what do you think is actually gonna take?
A rapper?
That's hilarious, but I agree with you.
No cap. Like,
I agree with you. Just a lot of like
It's
like
mad rappers
like
that talk
imagine
about that shit though.
no,
but
they don't.
Yes, they do.
imagine if Drake was like, yeah, like lately I've been doing a lot of shrooms and respect to Drake by the way, but like imagine if he was like, lately I've been doing a lot of shrooms and it's changing my fucking life and my outlook on things.
Like to really say
At
it.
the very least 5,000 kids are gonna want to do shrooms,
Bro.
and I'm being super conservative. When I say 5,000.
Yeah, that's a
You
very
know?
least fact.
A lot of rappers talk around it. Nobody says like, nah, like this is the shit, and
Yeah,
like
they
you
do,
should
bro.
do the like you should experience it.
They do.
Like, who?
They do,
See,
bro. I watch
talks
interviews.
about- who talks
Plenty
about
of
it?
niggas bring up like, yo,
Name
I've
them.
done shrooms.
2 Chainz.
There we go, Maro. 2 Chainz.
He had a whole event where it was like a 2021 hippie or 2020 hippie. Everybody was just doing shrooms in the crib.
Oh, send me that.
Yeah,
And that's in
see that.
Atlanta,
Send
the
me
Black
that.
Mecca. The
See,
Black
send me
Mecca.
that.
It was the black something.
He old though.
That's mad cool.
So no, see, no, he old. No, you can't.
I'm talking about somebody who's young, popping, and like, doing. People don't know. 80% of 2 Chainz audience is white.
That's cat.
Swear to God.
But I mean,
Where'd you get that number from?
He was gonna come to Canal Side. My mom has a security company, and they were going to do security for 2 Chainz. This Canal Side didn't want to do it. They said, "Oh, it's a risk because you're gonna bring out all the rowdies." Da, 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 da. They came with the paperwork. Look, 80% of my audience is white.
that's tough to say though, because I mean, hip hop audiences in general, like the ones that go to concerts and buy
Exactly.
merch, tend to be white.
That's
you
a
know,
fact.
I was just about to say the ones who support may be the 80% white, but it's not. I don't think that's the actual breakdown of the people that listen
but
to his
even
music.
even if mainstream rappers mention shrooms and acid here and there, can they do like take A$AP Rocky for example? He's always talking about LSD and
Facts.
shrooms, and he keeps it real too, which is good to see. But not enough mainstream artists really keep it real, if you know what I'm saying. Like they may mention shrooms and LSD and like the cool parts of that, like I'm seeing colors and like shit is let them out here in Paris on tripping with this girl. You know what I'm saying? But it ain't like if you're keeping it real about psychedelics, it's not really that fun. You know what
Facts.
I'm saying? Like, it's not really that. It is in a sense. It is. You can approach it that way, but
It's-
for somebody who seeks to grow themselves with psychedelics, I have yet to hear a mainstream hip hop artist speak about psychedelics in that way, where it's like, yo, this shit actually like fucked up my reality for a bit, and I had to piece myself back together. You never hear it talked about like that. You know what I'm saying? You hear,
Bro, I just can't think of the person, but it was a recent interview. The person was on Bootleg Cat Podcast. I just can't remember who it is. But they talked about it in that sense. Like, pretty much is how you described it. I can't remember who it
Boss?
was. Though. No, it wasn't Boss.
I
was on
understand.
Bootleg Cab, though.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying 100% because it's like it's not cool,
Mhm.
and it's like people like some people like they'll take, oh, I split an eighth and oh my god, this is the best thing in the world. Oh my, and it's like, bro, you not even like you dipped your toe in the water. Like, bro, like no, experience it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's it's a life
Yeah,
changing.
you never hear niggas say I took an eighth, meditated, and spoke to God. Like,
Yeah, I took it by myself.
You know, by myself.
I wasn't with 20 bitches. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like bottles everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Nah, that's fine.
That shit, bro. It's out. People. I put it like this. I just go with examples. Like, I could show hieroglyphics with mushrooms in it. I could. Dr. Sabi used to do mushrooms. He was a mycologist. George Washington Carver. Like,
I didn't know he was doing mushrooms.
he was a mycologist because people heard like they castrated him type shit, and that's why he used to study in his work. But he used to talk to plants. Like, he would take mushrooms, and the plants would tell him what you could do with this. Like, there's applicable tools. It's like, and it's not all cool glitz and glam. Like, it's not. No, this is a real thing. Like, it's a tool that can be used to better your life.
The way I look at psychedelics, any psychedelics, mushrooms, LSD, DMT, a good psychedelic trip for me is like, and I don't say this to shit at anybody that goes to therapy. Personally, I don't, because I have my own ways. But like, a good psychedelic experience is like, I'm talking about a good one. If you go really deep, I feel like that's like 6 months worth of therapy, which can save a nigga a lot of money.
Facts.
A lot of copay to save, you know.
That's a fact. Like in ancient cultures, like I was reading, when they would go to wars, like before they would integrate back into society, you had to go to the other little spot. You know what I mean? Eat your mushrooms and clean out all the trauma that you just experienced. Like, you don't want to take all the thoughts of killing people and all that back to your kids and your wives and shit like that. Like, no, they clean that out. Like, a lot of people, like, I've even heard you say, like, it's like a reset.
Yeah.
And it's like, it'll help flush you out, you know what I'm saying? So you can get back to regular life. Like, and as much trauma as we experience as black people in America, every black person needs therapy in America.
For sure.
So if you're not gonna do therapy because you can't afford it, like you said, 6 months worth of therapy, one shroom trip. If you do it the right way.
If you do it the right way, you know what I'm saying. If you take an eighth of shrooms and go to a party, I mean, like, you
gonna
gonna learn some stuff. But.
Yeah, there's definitely be responsible with it. I ain't saying like just be wilding out, but like talk to people about it, do some research on it, and learn. Just like have good people around you, have a good setting that you're in. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, see what it's about. Shit.
For sure. You know, it's funny. So many people like, cause I do psychedelics a good amount, to be real with y'all. Like, by myself normally. Mainly shrooms and LSD. You know, I use them, and then I just really meditate by myself. But I tell people that, and sometimes like they'll kind of look at me like, you just do shrooms that much, like in your room by yourself? I'm like, yeah, it's nothing too crazy about it. Like, it may seem. Because some people are like, yo, wouldn't you get like tweaked out if you're like alone, like with yourself? I'm like, no, nigga.
It's
No,
If anything, I should be the most comfortable when I'm with
and
myself.
even if I do, I wouldn't go as far to say I like negative experiences on psychedelics. But when you're by yourself, when you have fearful experiences or fearful thoughts, you have the freedom to really dive deep into that. And to me, that's real as fuck. Like to see your fear or to have a traumatic memory or thought pop up, and instead of like, cause everybody, what they do is like, no, I'm gonna fuck that. I'm gonna go get high. I'm gonna go to a party. I'm gonna I'm gonna go do this, do that to get away from that. Psychedelics for me, it's like, no. I'm gonna dive into the shit, figure it out, see why it's coming up, see why it bothers me, figure out what I'm afraid of, then figure out that I don't need to be afraid of that. Then I'll proceed from there, you know?
Stuff you thought you wasn't afraid of no more. Stuff you thought you got over. It's like, no, we'll bring it right to the surface, and like you can look at it and go through it, so you don't have to go through it ever again. Or, you know what I mean, you can keep running from it and be in the same little cycle.
I'll share just one experience I got to share real quick. I did like a year and a half ago. It was right after quarantine. So quarantines probably started in like March, and like this was like in like April or May. But I did a big dose of shrooms, like the biggest dose I did, like 5 grams. And it was a great experience. But in the middle of it, probably towards the peak, I got really, really terrified. I was alone in my room, And earlier in the day, I was reading some random thread online on whether hell actually exists. That's the type of stupid shit I'm into when I'm when I'm just chilling. So I was in the peak of the shroom trip, and that popped in my head. So I started, anything you think of when you're tripping, like you really think of the shit.
It gets visual.
It gets elevated. It gets visual. So I started thinking of hell on a 5-gram shroom trip, and that's not something you want to think about.
Nope.
So I was sitting there. I was like, all right, you're fine. Just stay calm. Like, you don't got to freak out right now. Like, stay calm. But I'm not going to hold you. I was terrified. I was seeing all types of horrible, scary images, scary thoughts. I was just terrified. And then I stopped, and I was like, wait a minute. Like, who's watching all this fear? Who's afraid right now? And I was like, I'm just watching myself be afraid. I was like, okay, well, who's watching? Who's doing the watching right now? Because what's doing the watching right now isn't afraid of shit. Mm-hmm. And once I realized that, I did this with my hands because I like to kind of put it like this. This first hand here being like the fears, the thoughts, and the second hand being what's observing those fears and the thoughts. Mm-hmm. When you meditate, any meditator would understand this dynamic I'm explaining, because it's like to observe your thoughts and minds and emotions. But when you're on psychedelics, that becomes very fucking clear. So you can kind of it's like if you spend all day zoomed in, focused in on like a painting or a picture. Psychedelics are just when you or if you meditate into like a high state of consciousness, you zoom out and you can see the whole picture, you can see the whole painting. In a sense, you could keep zooming out, but when you zoom out, or in that instance, when I zoomed out and I got to experience what I was afraid of, I was like, wait a minute, how can I be afraid of this? Because it's coming from myself. So am I afraid of myself? No, and that was a very profound moment for me, because I realized, like, wait a minute, any fear I have is self-produced. So how can I fear anything that's self-produced, And that was just, I've never been the same again. And don't get me wrong, like, when you sober up, your mind comes back. So, you'll still have anxieties, and you're not going to be magically cured. But it at least gives you a route to go in. At least gives you memories. It's like, okay, well, I was once in a state where I realized everything was pure love, and I wasn't afraid of shit, And if you go there once, you can definitely go there again and work,
tap into it,
and work to experience what that's like permanently.
Yeah, and that's like, and the reason I always, whenever I'm looking at information and stuff like that, I always look at, like, they say Egypt was the peak of human civilization, so I always look there. Okay, what was they doing? And it's like they said that their spiritual practice was to, like, they said they practiced death, and it's like, like how would they do that? They used to eat mushrooms and see what it was like in these thoughts and ideas of other shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if you can, it's like you practicing to die. It's like, oh shit, I've been there. Oh, I'm cool. I ain't worried about death. Like, that's not you know what I'm saying? It's a completely different mindset. It's like people.
Have either of you ever had a death-like experience on psychedelics?
For sure. I'm not. I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't talk about it here though.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it's just like we have all these.
Have you told me about it?
Maybe.
Were you?
We'll talk about it.
Hold on. Were you crawling on the ground?
Yeah. We'll talk about it. But it's just like we have all these sayings in our culture. The soul is the eternal soul, whatever. We don't die, we multiply. We say these things all the time, but it's like, okay, we've been saying this as a culture for years.
We don't die, multiply. I love that one.
Yeah, and it's like we've been saying this stuff in our culture for years, but it's like here's a tool that can really give you the experience of like, no, this is why we say it. This is what we do. This is what we've been doing. Like, we got detached from this at some point due to stuff like white supremacy. Like, there was a very tactical thing. Like, no, we're gonna make sure they don't experience this. It was very intentional.
Yeah.
And that's why I do what I do, and like, I want to have people here that talk about that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, it's definitely a thing, and it's like we're in a point in the world now where we see how wild shit is outside, but we need, because they're doing so much. Okay, we need to get on our shit.
For sure. And just to add to your point, and I agree with you completely, but even white people, you let's take somebody, I'll use an easy example. Let's take Donald Trump. He's your standard, for most people. Some people like him, some people look. I'm not commenting on that, but for most people, he's the typical like evil white guy. Even he could benefit off of psychedelics. It's not. This isn't something that's inherently like something that black people need to escape the white supremacy bubble. Now it is, but if you want to pull back the curtain even more, white supremacy form because human beings. I don't want to say we suck or we're flawed, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, it's less about escaping white supremacy and more about figuring out like what is this human issue that we're all experiencing together where we just inherently do bad things, we inherently struggle and don't know how to make sense of that or how to escape it, you know?
Yeah. And I look at it like white supremacy is like a side effect of black indigenous people around the world not being completely in touch with themselves. That's what I mean. Like when you are able to get fully in touch with yourself, white supremacy becomes irrelevant. It just it'll melt away as a byproduct of you being your fullest self. And a lot of the issues that we deal with as a people will melt away when we fully acknowledge.
You think it'll
our
melt
history.
away, or you think it just won't matter to us?
I think it'll melt away. It won't be able to exist. Personally, it's like when the house is dirty, roaches start popping up. You know what I'm saying? But when your house is clean, and you make sure you clean your shit, you don't have to worry about roaches popping up. Roaches are a problem. When the roaches come, you gotta call the inspector. You gotta have all these people come. You gotta bring the chemicals in. You gotta bring all this other shit. When in general, you could have just kept your house clean, and roaches, the issues of white supremacy would have never shown up.
Well, you can keep your house clean and then invite somebody over whose house isn't clean, and then they bring the roaches.
Once again, they won't be able to multiply. They won't be able to sustain if you continue to do what you do.
They'll be there, though. They'll just be irrelevant.
Did you invite them in?
I invited the person and I brought them in.
You invited them in.
All right, so now if you got roaches that I can't chill with you, bro, how am I supposed to know that? How am I supposed to know what's going on at your crib?
How many people you consistently bring in your crib that you know they got roaches?
You never bring somebody in you know they got roaches.
Exactly.
But you also don't know if they got them when you bring them in.
You don't know if this nigga dirty before you pull up to your crib.
You don't know how.
You never know.
No,
Some
it's
niggas
a
keep that-
difference between dirty and having roaches dirty. Those two different things. But we getting off the point.
Word. So, no, but that's just like, that's my perspective. Like, that's my philosophy with it. You know what I'm saying? From people I learn from, like, they come with that mindset. You know what I'm saying? Handle your biz and everything else will fall into place type shit. But let's tap into to Freak the Mighty. How did Freak the Mighty become?
Well, first, how do you, before we get up the psychedelic topic, how a psychedelic helps you in your creative process as far as making your art?
Oh man, just to keep it short and sweet, I would say just anything that helps me become more aware of myself is anything that helps the creative process for me. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Word.
So Freak the Mighty.
Word. So, boom. It's a hard ass transition, right?
Right.
So boom. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I could link them.
go for it.
I could link them. So Freak the Mighty started with me and my boy T. T is a man that goes by many names. Sus King Brad, Blaine Viceroy.
Word.
We linked up when we were like 18, 19. He was already making some music, and I knew he was going to Canisius at the time, and there was a studio in Canisius that he would use, so he would always go there.
That's right.
And then we'd always chop it up like, oh, we gotta get in the studio, and of course it never really would happen. Then that one day he was like, nah, like come on this day, like I'm gonna be there, and I was like, bet. And I showed up, and then we started just getting like a feel for each other, making music. Like I found we were cool, but we weren't really like close or nothing like that. We just knew each other through friends. So we linked up, and then we made a couple songs. But when I said I could link it, the first actual song we made where we were like, you know what, like this is something cool we got going on. Like we could work something out here. Literally the night before that, I had done DMT for the first time. Not the standard DMT, it was something called 5-MeO DMT. And to keep it short and sweet, you know, most people have an understanding what DMT is, or they hear stories about it. 5-MeO DMT, it's similar, but for me it wasn't a visual experience. It's funny because like talking about this stuff is normal to me, but for somebody who doesn't talk about this shit, I'm like, what the fuck is this nigga talking about? But 5-MeO DMT is pure. If you take a high dose, it's just pure ego death. That's really just what the experience is like. And I was in over my head when I did it. So I had
is that 19? You said?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. I had it was a beautiful experience, but you can also say it was a very traumatic experience. And the very next day is when I had that first like official studio session with T. So I was in a strange space when we made that first song. But we made the song, and yeah, you know, we realized the song wasn't nothing special, nothing great. But there was potential there, and then we were like, you know, we could definitely do something with this. And then we both were talking, and we both had read this book when we were kids called Freak the Mighty. It was about two kids. One was like a giant, and the other was like a crippled genius, and they teamed up and they were Freak the Mighty.
That's fine.
And yeah, that's how it came about. So it first started with me and T. And it's funny because T, like we dropped out of school around the same time, but we would still sneak into the Canisius studio to record for like a year. So every day we would just go there, and we would just like wait, and when somebody came out, we would wait for somebody to go in, and then we would go and we would just walk in there, or we would hold the door open for each other and just wait there for like an hour. And it was funny because we were there every single day for like a whole, after we dropped out, we were there for like a whole semester worth of time. We both had lost like 30 pounds. At the time, I was kind of on my workout grind, so I was getting a little diesel. T was a little heavier himself, but we were in the studio so much we were not eating. Like the only meal we ate was like a granola bar out of the vending machine every night. We would be there from like 3 p.m. till midnight every single day, sometimes longer, for like a 6-month period. And that's how Freak the Mighty formed.
Dope. So, and just a quick disclaimer. So like 5-MeO is like Toad. Like it's the same thing from the Toad, and like people go, oh, you look the Toad,
the famous Toad.
Yeah, but boom, that's how Freak the Mighty initially started.
Yeah.
When did y'all start adding like people starting to like come in?
Yeah, so probably I would say almost a year after that. After the Canisius studio days were over, T ended up getting a house with a couple of roommates in the Village area, and you know, we were just, at the time, me and T together, I think we had put out like two EPs by this time, and we kept things short. So like our first EP was 4 songs, the second EP was 3 songs. So we were kind of getting like somewhat of a local rep going, I guess. And then from my old high school, actually from City Honors, someone hit me up. Court, actually, he goes by Karma Beads. He's in a group, and he was like, "Yo, I got some beats. I'd love to play it for y'all." And I respect Court so much for this, because at the time he was still in high school. We were out of high school. Court's probably like 3-4 years younger than me. So he just showed up with his laptop one day, like to the house, and like he had some beats to play us. And then, you know what? I skipped a part. I skipped a very important part. When it was just me and T, one day I was at Spot Coffee. I was just stopped in there to read or some shit, and I was leaving, and some kid chased me out the spot. He was like, "Yo, are you in Freak the Mighty?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was actually Alex, who goes by Namek, and he was like, "Yo, I make some beats. I would love to send you some beats." And Namek was actually the first one that sent some beats. And a couple weeks after that, that's when Court came to the house, and then turns out they were best friends. So then they both started coming around, and then we just fucked with them. And, you know, they kept playing us beats, and we saw that they were determined and, like, hungry for the shit. And when they first came around, their beats weren't nothing amazing, as in we weren't really good rappers either, but we saw the determination in them to keep growing and to kind of, like, develop a sound, and they had cool ideas. We had cool ideas. and then one thing snowballed into the next.
Yeah, that's fire.
So how many total people was it?
4.
4. Okay.
Yeah, 2 producers, 2 rappers.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what used to always throw me off. Because like I would always see you, and I would always see Sus King.
Sus King, bro.
Yeah, and I would be like, I know it's a full group though. I'm like, where is everybody? Like,
yeah, no, it's definitely a little confusing, a little complicated. You know,
that's fire though.
Yeah,
it makes people like, okay, I gotta tune in. I gotta. That shit is dope.
It's like a certain level of mystique.
Yeah. No, mystique is really really important to us. For a couple reasons. One, because I just like. I love the art form of rap. I love making music, but I don't like all the ideas that come with having to be a rapper or artist. Some people do, and that's fine if you do. Just me personally, I don't, you know? So keeping that mystique up, it allows me just to be a regular ass person, really.
Word. Dang, that's hard.
You know?
So I'm trying to think. I've seen y'all perform at Boufflé. Energy was crazy. Can you describe like y'all that performance?
I think I seen y'all perform. One of my homies, you know Amaya. One of my homie friend Amaya, she was throwing like some showcase, like backyard showcase, and I seen y'all for the first time perform at that joint.
They be going crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
you know, I started like
you remember their name just off that after that.
Our first performance ever was cool. Spacebound through the show, and it was at those are my homies. They threw it at Stamps Bar in North Tonawanda.
Yeah, shout out to Spacebound.
Yeah, shout out Spacebound. That was a cool show, but you know we're still getting used to everything. And then the second show we did, Ooze Gang threw it. It was at some place in Black Rock, and that was the first show where we, excuse me, that was the first show where we really started to get some attention. And then the third show was when it really popped off. Ooze Gang was moving out of the Slime Shack at the time. They were getting kicked out, so they were doing like one last show in the backyard. And we showed up, and I never forget this. I saw Daylight from Rodigis. He performed by himself. I don't know where the other guys were that day, but he was by himself for some reason. And his performance was fucking crazy. He was right before us, and I'm naturally like a competitive guy, and not competitive and trying to be better than the next nigga, but it's just like you see somebody do something great, you want to do something great too.
You want to match that shit.
And he was just, I'll admit at the time I didn't really know the history of the scene, but like I recognized him as a veteran as well as Ooze Gang and everybody else who was allowing us to even perform, you know.
Shout out to B, shout out to Rodigis.
Yeah, shout out all them niggas. Those my homies. Those, real quick little side tangent. I got to shout out Ooze Gang, shout out Rodigis, 14 Trap Doors, like, and I'm sure there's other niggas I'm missing, but those are the 3 main groups that really helped us out and extended a hand. And I'll always be appreciative to all of them. And we can talk about them in a second. But I saw him just have a crazy performance. And I don't know, like I knew something was gonna happen because like I looked across we were like in this big backyard. I looked across, I saw T. He was sitting down mad serious. I was mad serious. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, it's time. It's time. And we only were doing 3 songs, and we had this one song called Black Gods. And that's what it was. We felt like we were black guys, So we got up there, and I don't even remember, honestly. We just like lost control. And mad people around us started going crazy too. So we were performing, and then niggas were just around us, just damn near fighting each other, bro. Can't Wave was there. My boy X was there breaking shit. I was stomping the stage. It's like we all got possessed for a second. And thankfully, Creative Connect, Alex, he was there, and he was filming it, and he put the footage on Twitter like a day later, and it got like 5,000 views in like a couple of days. After that, some people started expecting like Freak the Mighty to pull up, and then some crazy shit to happen. And that summer, we had a run where every show we did that summer, some crazy shit would happen. like a week after that, we had another show at Stamps. Spacebound through it again. It was called Summerbound. We had niggas jumping off the stage. It got crazy. And then after that, it was just always about just bringing our all into the performance and kind of just really letting loose. And that was a couple years ago. Now these days, like Bo Flow, the last show we did, Bo Flow was mad cool because I'm hitting a stage now where it's like when I first started out, when I was performing, I would just let everything out. I would let loose. And by letting loose, that's when I would kind of hit that like LeBron flow state type of shit when I was performing. But I couldn't necessarily control it. You know what I'm saying? I would just have to go on the stage and just fucking let loose. Like first song, I'll be a little nervous. By the second song, I'm in there. By the third song, like we really in there, you know? And now that I'm more mature, I'm like, okay, clearly that's some type of like ability that I don't really know how to articulate well. So now I'm learning how to get into those states and how to control it, how to actually talk to the crowd while being in that adrenaline mode. You know what I'm saying? How to have coherent performances while still maintaining that chaotic nature of the performances. And Bo Flow, I loved because we had a band with us, and whenever we performed with a band, that was our second time ever performing with a band. I don't know, the drums bring out something. The drums bring out something different, you know. And Bo Flow is funny too because I was actually pissed off that day because I thought I was incorrect, but I thought that they had gave us like a short set for some reason compared to everybody else because we were on there was 3 stages and we performed at Bo Flow 2 years ago, like the year before COVID, and we tore it up. So then I found out that they were putting us on this one stage that at that time I thought was like farther away from the other stages. I'm thinking like, no fucking way they're giving us the smallest stage. These niggas are giving us 15 minutes. Like, are you fucking serious? I was like, nah, we're gonna go on there, we're gonna fucking tear it. We're gonna tear those 15 minutes up, and I'm gonna make them look dumb. That's so I was turned up. I was pissed off in like 15 fucking minutes. So we just let loose. Come to find out, pretty much everybody had 15 minutes. So apologies to Bo Flow. But
run the best out of you though.
Yeah, but no, I was like, nah, they're not gonna disrespect us because, you know, the one thing I will say, now don't get me wrong, we've had a lot of success around here locally. We've thrown 2 shows that were our own shows. One was private, so like I expected it to be small, but the other we did at Mohawk Place and we sold it out. It was a very big show. It's called the Dark Tournament. And I was at the time I was upset because while we do get a lot of love around here, sometimes I feel like I don't know. Sometimes I still feel like we're in this underdog position where niggas don't give props in certain ways, which is fine. I don't really care. It's just like at our old house, the Palace, we could talk about this too a little bit. We kind of opened up our house to the city. We had a lot of niggas in and out our house every day. There was probably like on a normal day there was probably 15 people in and out of our house that we were living in. And I don't regret this period at all. It was great. You know, I met a lot of new people. I met you. You know what I'm saying? I made a lot of connections. A lot of people will come to our house, creatives, and it would kind of be like an escape, you know, from their homes, their environments. And we hosted that, you know? And I just feel like, I'll put it this way. COVID showed me who really cares, who really cared, and who was really there for kind of like the hype of things. And then when we were down or when we experienced things in our lives that had to cause us to take a step back, a lot of the people that were there showing us love and wanted to be around a lot, they took off. They took off quick, you know.
Hitched a new ride.
And it is what it is. I'm not bitter about it, but I do get just for me and my homies, like I'm just they're my family. So when I feel like T doesn't get the props that he deserves, or anybody else around doesn't get the props they deserve, if I don't get the props I feel like I deserve, you know, it just gets me a little extra motivation to tear some shit up, you know. So that's kind of what it was at Bo Flow. It's like, no, let me just real quick. It's been a minute, you know. We took a little hiatus, but let me really just remind these niggas who really does this, you know, because you felt
that shit as somebody in this.
I never seen niggas hop off the stage for any other performer around here. I'm gonna just keep it a buck, you know. And that's not to disrespect anybody. There's a lot of fucking talented artists, but niggas are not hopping off the stage for nobody else, you know. And I just had to Bo Flow. I was like, you know, let me just hop back up here real quick.
Rightfully so.
Because when I want to do this shit, I really can. You know?
Yeah, I think with y'all, like y'all have a very like compared to the other groups, like I maybe outside of like Spacebound, y'all have like a unique audience, and y'all speak to like that younger generation. Like y'all speak to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's you say like if you don't feel like you get the recognition or something, like I think it's just y'all have very different audiences.
Yeah.
And because man, y'all it's at the point where y'all could hit the road. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I felt seeing that shit. And it's just like I think Buffalo may just not be big enough for you. You know what I'm saying? Like keep like y'all getting the views on all that shit, the streams and shit. And keep hitting them. Start hitting the local cities.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Have y'all done? Yeah, go ahead.
And we had to slow down a little bit too because things kind of developed rather quickly. You know what I'm saying? Like me and T linked up in like December for the first time ever in like 2017 or something like that. And then pretty much the next summer we were performing and people were expecting something from Freak the Mighty. And that's when we had to slow down a bit because like we didn't really. I mean, we knew what was taking place, and for someone could look at what I'm saying and be like, "Yo, slow down, man. You guys are just in Buffalo." True, but to 19, 20-year-olds who never experienced something like that out of nowhere, people you don't know are coming up to you. People's parents heard about you. Mm-hmm. People are asking like, "Yo, when's a new song dropping? When's this coming?" Like, "Yo, it's been a while since you guys released music. Like, when's the new album coming? When's this coming? When's that coming?" Like, "Yo, you guys should do this. You guys should do that." At a certain point, it gets like. You just kind of get tired of it all. Mm-hmm. I'm very happy I went through that in Buffalo. I think I always forget who said this. I think I heard Billy Esco say this, but I think it was Esco, but someone once said that Buffalo is like a hyperbolic time chamber, kind of. if for a metaphor to what it's like to be an artist.
That's valid. I've heard
in the real world. And I'm happy we went through these certain struggles and certain anxieties, I guess you can say, of being local and known around here because it helped me prepare for what's to come. So when COVID hit, actually right before COVID hit, we had literally the day when everything got shut down. Like I think the NBA was the first to say they were shutting down for a bit.
March
after
13th.
That, March 13th. That Friday we had a show with Spacebound it was gonna be at Rec Room on Chippewa, and we were really excited because at the time this hip-hop community hadn't really broken into Chippewa performances, so that would have been a really big day for us. Then COVID hit like that day and things got shut down. And yeah, I mean we slowed down for a bit, to be real with y'all. Like I kind of saw it as an opportunity to just get a hold of what was going on and for me to focus in on like, okay, what type of artist do I want to be? How can I get back to myself? Because, like, despite the fact that shit is cool right now on paper, I wasn't feeling right. Me and T's relationship was getting kind of rocky, to be real with y'all. Like, we weren't as close as we were before. There was a lot of problems developing. So we've taken honestly a little over a year just to live our lives and get shit right with each other. And to me that's way more important and valuable
way more important
for sure
than releasing content and making a game plan and shit like that. We just had to live our lives for a bit. So that's what we've been doing. And thankfully, it really warmed my heart, like Boflo, and we did one other show in June. It was a punk show. It warmed my heart to see that people still were there and still kind of waiting on us. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, like we're good. We got, we could shut up for a bit and people are still going to pay attention when we put something out, when we speak, when we make an announcement, Yeah,
bro. Because that energy, energy don't lie, man, and that shit, people feel that. Yeah. And people will honor, the real ones will honor that shit, regardless of what the times is, what's going on outside. Like, people always say support the real. Yeah, for sure. People fucking will.
And in the meantime, we just been behind the scenes getting our shit together. Like T, we make a joke about T. He's like Thanos. He's just collecting like different genres that he figures out how to do. Like, this nigga can rap. This nigga can make country music. Right now, he's making hyper pop music. He's figured out how to sing way better. He's making R&B music, and it's just all this shit that he's been like, man, no one. I mean, I'm sure there's people that just sit in the room make music all day too, but T really just sits in his room and he just records and breaks ground on different subgenres within hip hop. And I'm very excited for people to see how hard he's been working, how hard we've been working, and like where our sound goes next, because one thing that me and T have always agreed on. We don't want to. Of course we want to make music that's palatable and that other people can like understand and listen to. But we don't. When everybody goes left, we want to go right. That's always been our thing. And over the last year and a half, that's really what we've been doing. T's been, refining his style and adding different subgenres to his collection. My struggle has been a little different. I'm always improving my pen, and I'm excited to get to show people that. But for me, I've been growing a lot just in my personal life and my understanding of certain things. And my main struggle for the last year was figuring out how to incorporate these things into my music. It's like I don't care to be the backpack conscious nigga that's talking about shit that nobody understands. And no disrespect to them, it's just for me, I want to be able to spread what I learn about life to my fans, to my supporters, just to help them, and it's like, how can I bring that in and make it enjoyable to listen to? Like, how can I still bring what I know and kind of like connect it into Freak the Mighty or to what T's doing, or even to what I want to do, and make it presentable, make it fun, make it enjoyable for people. Yeah. And that's been challenging because I've gone quite deep in exploring certain things about myself, about reality, you could say.
Are you breaking ground with it, or is that something you still like in a process of like figuring out?
I'm definitely breaking ground with it now. After performing again this summer and just recording a little more, I was also helping my boy start up a company of his, so that's been taking up a lot of time too. Very valuable though. I've learned a lot about business and other things, and that's a whole different thing. For sure. But I'm definitely breaking ground with it. I'm feeling more comfortable and confident in how I'm articulating things when I write. I'm just really coming into myself.
Do you think there was any other artists that like you look up to that have done like that in that way?
Local artists or any artist?
Any artist.
Any artist.
For sure. I'll take one of my favorite artists, and this is somebody who gets an eye roll out of people, but I love Electronica. And a lot of people are like, he never even dropped an album, but there's actually like fucking like 70 to 100 tracks that he has. If you just look, you can find from like his career. And he's someone who was such an elite rapper and rapped about shit that as a kid I didn't fucking understand, but I knew there was something appealing about it though, despite the fact I didn't understand what the fuck he was saying. Or I'll take Kendrick Lamar, for example. He's somebody who he figures out how to go deeper, but not in a corny way every time he drops an album, So there's definitely Andre 3000. I mean, there's so many artists that go deeper,
That's what Mac did. I feel like Mac did that very well. Like, we saw him transform from the kid pounding on the table at lunch to like becoming an artist and then like becoming a musician and really like these are my experiences in it.
For sure. And then there's the other side of it too. I'll take Playboi Carti's a good example. Some people don't like him, some people do. I'm a big fan of his because I wouldn't say he's saying anything of the greatest substance and compared to a lyricist, but something about Carti's music, and there's other people like this. Carti's an easy example to use. Carti, you listen to Playboi Carti, and you could kind of hear in his music that he's, to the best of his ability, he's being himself. It's authentic to who he is. And I'm not saying I would take life advice from Playboi Carti, but still, you could hear the energy in the nigga's music,
valid.
And that's the other side of things, because it doesn't matter how intelligent or wise you get, if you could kind of hear the nigga's music if he's sitting there and he's thinking about it too much. So the other side of things is figuring out how to make music that you want to make without having to think about it too much, because you want that authentic energy to be there. You want people to hear that. You want people to see that when you perform, because that's what really resonates with people.
That's what people feel at the end of the day.
So that's been the other side of my journey. It's like, okay, I know I'm gaining the intellect, the wisdom to speak about certain topics, but how do I speak about it in a way where people could really hear what I'm saying, like from my heart, and not just coming from my mind.
Yeah, and take time to formulate it, because even all the artists you name that are like that you say that you look at, Mac Miller, he took breaks between albums. He wasn't dropping 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Playboi Carti, same thing. People was waiting a whole lot of Red for years.
Yeah.
Electronica, Kendrick, 3K. Those are all people that take time before they drop music. You know
For
what I
sure.
mean?
And you know, one thing I gotta mention about Cardi too that I fuck with, when Whole Lotta Red came out, you know, there was mixed reviews for it, but now if you just go on YouTube and look for beats, damn near there's a whole new subgenre of hip hop. There's like this new like cyberpunk like hip hop shit that people are trying to make, and there's other people that contribute to that. But Cardi was one of the main influencers of carving out his own little subgenre within hip hop.
That's fire.
You know?
Yeah, because like that's one thing like I 100% agree with you talked about like it being authentically them, and like that's one thing like I've said on the podcast before, like what makes me fucks with artists is do I fully authentically like believe this is who you are. Like motherfuckers talk about toting guns all day, shooting, like, but is that really you?
Yeah.
And like people like I grew up listening to Gucci. I like fuck with artists like Max O'Cream. Like I fuck with artists who are about that life and they wrap their experiences in that. I'm not a fan of people just trying to sell me a story, sell me a dream type shit. And people like Cardi, like they're being them. You know what I'm saying? And that shit speaks, and it you see what results it gets. You know what I'm saying? We know their name.
Absolutely.
So you said y'all were working. Is there anything that could be coming, like as far as music or project soon?
So we got a new song and a music video dropping soon. I'm just waiting on the director to finish editing the video. It's the first Freak the Mighty song in a bit. It's featuring our boy Gabriel Lavender, who I got to talk about real quick. Gabriel Lavender and my boy Nolo the Slayer. Y'all know
Shout
Nolo.
out to Nolo. He was on the song with Nolo when
they dropped a tape together like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, I gotta hear
called
that.
Not So Sweet Life. Like it's a fire ass tape, and I'm happy to talk about them because they're around a lot. Like those are my boys, they're little bros, and to see their work ethic and them kind of develop their own sound in Buffalo and kind of tuning out everything else and focusing in on themselves and what they want to do, like that's been mad inspiring to see, you know. That's cool when you can like actually, when you gotta fake it, when you can actually get inspired by people, you know, like that shit is mad cool.
Hell yeah. No, it's like what's you said Gabriel?
Gabriel Lavender.
Gabriel Lavender.
Gabriel Lavender.
I heard this shit. I'm like, oh, this white boy floating on this shit. Like I was like, yo,
he's Puerto Rican.
Oh, word.
Yeah, he's Puerto Rican. I always gotta let that be known.
Hell yeah.
I always gotta let that be known. But yeah, we got a song dropping with Gabriel and a video coming out for it soon. T has a project that he's putting out soon. So he has, you know, he says King Brad, he's in Freak the Mighty, but he has another alias called Blame the Viceroy, and that's where he puts out his pop music, his hyper pop music, and his other alternative genre music he puts under Blame the Viceroy. So he has a project coming out in a couple weeks, and I have a whole lot of stuff to put out myself. Me and T, we both this last year we both been working on a lot of solo material, so I got some solo songs to get out. Nolo and Gabriel, they got some more songs to put out too, and we're kind of rolling together as a group because that's really what we are. We're always together, so you know, expect a whole lot more content to start coming out very shortly. Really, as soon as this video comes out, after that, we're really not going to stop. We're finally getting ready to
I'm excited.
come out the gates again.
Hell yeah, I'm excited to see that shit. So what's one thing you want people to be able to take away from your music?
All I want is to have fun making my music, but I also want to be very honest in my music. I want people to what I want people to take away is that they can be real, and being real isn't always about being lit and being positive per se. Don't get me wrong, like I'm an optimistic person, but I always want to just give people my heart in my music. I want them to understand like what it's like to live life through my eyes and then learn something for themselves through that, you know. Then that's really what I hope people take. Like I'm going to one thing to me that's more important than being an artist and making music, more important than everything else in my life, is simply just growing. I want to be, when I die, like not even looking back on like what I did in life. I just want to know that I went as deeply into myself I could possibly go, and I want that to translate in my music as I grow. You know, when I'm 35 and still rapping, like I want my fans to I want to be able to articulate to my fans my understanding of life and the world, and hopefully that can inspire them to dig deep in themselves as I have. You know, so that's one thing I want people to take away from my music.
Word. Yeah, man. I'm excited to see what y'all like. Once y'all start rolling shit, I love have all y'all up here. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
We can do this shit again.
For sure.
Fire.
Nah, this is mad cool.
Appreciate you pulling up, bro. You got anything else you want to touch on or talk about?
Nah, you know, I'll leave it at that.
Where can the people find you?
Our Instagram is Freak the Mighty. Freak the Mighty, mighty with 2 I's. My Instagram is FTM NeftAli, NeftAli. And actually, I got one last thing to say. A lot of people ask me like, what's NeftAli about? Like, where do you get that name? One, it's my middle name, and it's my father's name, and it's his father's name. And I chose NeftAli to be my name because it's a Puerto Rican name. And when I found out after I was born, obviously when I was a baby, my dad, he didn't want to name me NeftAli because he thought that it would be a difficult name to have, I suppose. So they named me Daniel. And I'm not ashamed of being named Daniel. Niggas can still call me Daniel, that's fine. But as I grow, I'm so proud of who the fuck I am. I'm so proud to be Puerto Rican. I'm so proud to be black. It's like I wish they named me NeftAli. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like my way of taking the name back. It's like, no, call me by my fucking real name. It's NeftAli. You know, I'm proud of that shit. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, that's how.
Appreciate you pulling up, bro.
Absolutely. I appreciate y'all having me, for real.
No doubt.
Real quick, if I could just shout out homie, shout out Space Brown, shout out the Miserable Genius,
Gang.
Shout out Ooze Gang. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Rodagee, shout out 14 Chap Doors, shout out Kane Wave, that nigga's killing shit right now. Shout out K Pistol, he's killing shit right now.
Oh, K Pistol.
Man, I feel like there's so many niggas out here. Shout out Chango and Wavy, they killing shit right now. Man, shout out my girl Tiana, she's killing shit right now. Mad niggas I'm forgetting about, but you know, I just had to, you know what I'm saying? I just had to show love.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate you, bro. No Label the Pod. We out.
Peace.
Oh. Forgot to mess with your brother, nigga. See what I'm saying? Like,
we mention him all the time.
Hell yeah, man.
She watching me like a nigga is